Hello and welcome to the Mindful Man Project. This is where we discuss all the issues and pieces of the puzzle that is mental health. We look at the things in life that get people down or create anxiety in their life and hopefully give some guidance on how to become a modern mindful man or woman. I am your host, Tyson Venables. On today's episode, we have Mike Snell. Mike kickstarted his musical theatre career alongside the illustrious Hugh Jackman on The Boy from Oz. A succession of musicals followed from that, including Miss Saigon, Wicked, Hairspray, Will Rock You, and Legally Blonde, where he earned himself an award for the Helpmann Award Nomination for the Best Supporting Actor for his role as Kyle, the UPS delivery guy. He has a funny story in the podcast about that. Mike then went on to work with one of his favorite directors, Baz Luhrmann, on the Australian production of Strictly Ballroom. In 2017, Mike scored the hattrick, with the production company performing in Hello, Dolly as Rudolf, Jesus Christ Superstar as Simon of the Zealots, and Brigadoon as the sword dancer. He is fresh off the stage of Disney's Aladdin, and in the background, Mike has actually studied yoga for the past 18 years and recently traveled to Rishikesh, India, and completed his 200-hour YTT and also his meditation TT. Great story with that as well, trying to schedule that into his actual schedule in between his stage productions in the podcast. And a really great chat this was. During the chat, my computer crashed and it kind of went a little bit haywire. So there is a point where we're actually talking about perfectionism. It's quite ironic that it crashed during perfectionism, and we'll pick up along the way there. So hopefully you enjoy the podcast. Strap yourself in. Let's go.
How are you, buddy?
Really good, really good. Enjoying the last couple of days of nice and sunny here. We've probably experienced it as well. But it's cool now. Things are chill starting to come in. Eh?
I know. I got up at like I got up at like 7 this morning and just went on this massive walk. And I was like, oh, I think I need to buy those fingerless gloves soon.
Yeah, it's getting to that point where the gloves and stuff kind of start to come on. For everybody who is in Melbourne, so we're kind of in the same area. So it's starting to get a little bit chilly here. It was like 4 degrees or something this morning. That's pretty crazy. So I was like, not in no hurry to get out of bed, but I had to get out of bed.
That's it. Can't, get stagnant with coronavirus.
How's your week been anyway? What's been happening for you? Like, how's been in the coronavirus bubble?
Well, it's been pretty good actually. It was my birthday on Wednesday, so that's always nice to feel the love from the universe of Facebook and social media.
Yeah, the tributes are flowing in nicely there for you.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like I just, I said to my friend my friend Lauren, I was like, I must have this problem of receiving love or something because, when you just see all these photos and all your memories and, it's so easy for me to block out all the good that's out there and sometimes just focus on the bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been, overthinking stuff this week because I'm like doing this with you right now. I've been like, what am I going to talk about? Yeah. What's important to me? Mental health. So that was one thing that I was thinking on my birthday. I was like, focus on the good more, because it's all here on Instagram in front of me right now with all these photos and birthday wishes.
Yeah.
And it's just like important, I think, to do that.
It's those times of the year, hey, when like that sort of stuff like that, and kind of, I guess, Christmas, if you practice, if you avid Christmas, and like you do start to hear from those people who do mean a lot to you, sometimes you forget about that, and it's pretty easy to get swept up in everything else that could be going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate sometimes to have that, pessimistic outlook, but I suppose it's like anything; it needs a bit of work and focus on intention.
Well, absolutely, and I think it's like at the end of the day, if you actually recognize it and and you identify that it's happening, then and not being caught in that loop and continuing forward. It's like it allows you to snap out of it pretty quick rather than like you had that realization is like actually let's focus on the good. Let's focus on the love and bring the love in. And I think that's where, especially at the moment, a lot of love needs to be like passed around for everybody. I think
To others and thyself.
spreading the love.
Yeah.
You're good at spreading the love, mate. You bring joy to people's lives everywhere. Like it was just in my intro before, I was just telling everybody it was like you performed for it now. Try chats and tunes, the flow states, and the feedback and stuff we got. It was just the joy that you bring to people's lives, and obviously because being a stage performer, you drop into your character and you're able to like be able to bring that through whatever you're doing through your character and then but also then bringing it off stage. Like that's what I found, like even in our short relationship, that you do, like you just light up a room and stuff that you do when you come into a room, or whether it's like this sort of situation that people just kind of magnetize to you. Do you think, have you had that throughout your entire life, or like is that kind of been something that you've kind of been gradual snowballing effect kind of situation, you reckon?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think as a kid I was always really trying to make people happy, and that started off with my household as a child. Like I had I wasn't hard done by or anything like that, but I feel that I did grow up in a bit of a violent, angry household.
Yeah.
And I took the position of like that mediator, trying to diffuse my parents fighting. And so I feel like it just was kind of became my character to sing and dance and make everything shiny and new and happy. And also, I don't know, it's just a part of my character as well. I've, from my earliest memories, just always loved to sing and dance. And, it's a really special thing, because when I was a bit younger, I used to think it was this really egoic, self-centered thing. Like, I need the applause. I want to be on stage, but really, doing it 8 shows a week for the last 15 to 17 years, giving up every night of your life. Sorry, it's not giving up, because I love it so much, but after a while it becomes your job. And so sacrificing 6 days a week to do exactly the same show over and over and over really is about bringing other people joy, and letting that 2.5 hours of, say, whether it be Wicked the Musical or Hairspray in the 1960s or whatever it is, you're really taking people out of their humdrum lives, forgetting about their depression, their bills, what the kids have to eat, relationship stuff. And people get lost in the moment and then clap because they just feel so, joyful. And I know I've experienced that every time I go to the theater. So like I do suppose that that's a part of my life, has been making people happy. And I think in the theater especially, we have that shortcut to joy within us, whether you've had a shit day or someone's like died, or like you've broken up with your partner or something, that curtain opens and you have to switch it on. So I think it's sometimes about being able to authentically access that part of yourself.
Yeah, being someone who's been to a stage show before, and it's like, especially you choose those, like when you go to those ones that you might have seen a performance, or you might have seen a movie or read a book or something like that throughout your childhood or early development years, and then you go to one of these stage shows and then you instantly drop in, and like nothing else, or whatever happens outside that theater is now right in front of you, and that your childhood memories and stuff start coming back. I remember like when I saw The Lion King, I saw it on Broadway, and I just started crying. As soon as I
Mm.
walked in, I just started crying. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was like,
Oh, super.
I'm 24.
Yeah.
But, like like you just said, it just allows that emotion and joy and stuff for people to feel and go on that little roller coaster ride. And being a performer, like, it's such a special talent to be able to do that. And, like, I've got so much respect for people who can just jump on stage and obviously not just jump on stage and do it, but there's many years of practice. Like, how long have you actually kind of been honing your craft as such? Like, were you a drama, like you did your drama classes and stuff and singing classes throughout your younger years, or?
Well, when I went to Monty High, mate. Like I went to this state school out in the burbs, and for me in the night, it was like late 80s, 90s when I was at school. Um, like, So You Think You Can Dance, all these, Glee, all these shows just weren't out. Like you played footy, cricket, the girls did netball. That's where I grew up. So I tried a term of dance when I was 14, and then got like bashed on the bus, mate. So I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. Everyone's going to find out I'm gay, all this like closeted, stuff. So I really put it off up until I was about 17. And then I thought, stuff this, who cares,
Yeah.
And so I started really late. But from that moment, it was like I found my tribe.
Yeah.
But I'm still besties to this day with this core group of my friends. And we were all, dancing at the edge in Eltham. And it was like my safe haven, and I loved school. I'm not, don't get me wrong, but it just felt right to me. And so I became completely obsessed with dance and went from being this like chubby teenager who didn't do anything because I didn't like PE. It was a bit rough for me with sports and things. And I was scared of the ball and all that, it was frightening for me, actually. I really hated it.
You're completely
And so,
opposite to me, yeah.
yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really didn't warm to sports at all. And so to find a physical outlet at 17, I was just like, oh my God, my body changed. I got like lost all my puppy fat, got ripped, and then was also expressing myself in a way that I just didn't, it was just amazing, and then I just became obsessed. And since that day, I've never stopped taking class. I've never stopped doing my vocal warm-ups and scales. I've never stopped, wanting to learn. And yeah, like even doing chats and tunes with you the other day, I was so nervous, massive vocal warm-up, need to be perfect, relate, it never ends. And that's something I want to get in with. I want to talk about that with you,
Yeah.
because perfectionism has been such a thing that's gone into my mental health, and it's helped me along the way, but it's also been a massive detriment to my craft.
Yeah. So how would you say it's a detriment to your craft? Like, what do you think is holding you back there?
Um, it's it's that internal negative interject that can just tell you you're absolutely shit.
Sorry, my
No, you know,
yeah.
no one wants to hear you sing, what to offer. Like, it's that voice that we all have, but uh, when you're, say a dancer and you're in front of a mirror for 8 hours a day, start to become very particular about your angles, your body, how you look
Yeah.
in comparison to the guy standing next to you with bigger arms or a better six pack. And, I was dancing for Kylie Minogue once, and we had to have like 8% body fat or less. And,
Yeah, wow.
you become.
Were you one of Kylie's dancers, were you?
Yeah, I did her 25-year anniversary at Mardi Gras
Oh
when I
wow.
was like 29 and at the peak of my, cuteness. But yeah, like I remember the pressure to be perfect.
Yeah.
Um, and I know that that's not just in the arts anymore. It used to be like, oh, dancers look after themselves, blah blah blah. But now, for men, it's huge body image, and I've been there, and it's funny because I said it was my birthday the other day. I looked in the mirror and I was like, love yourself, love that tiny bit of love handle that wasn't there a few years ago, and grow your chest hair out because you've had to be clipped and fake tanned and the dancer for all these years. And so I've gone off topic, but it's all about perfectionism.
Well, it is, and I sympathise with you like that as well, because it's like obviously coming from the PT fitness background, it's like
Mm.
you're not a fit PT and you've got six pack abs and you're like on the cover of Men's Health and blah blah blah. People don't generally think that you're a good PT or a good fitness professional, but it's like at the end of the day, you're working so hard for that one photo shoot, or you're working for that. And the same thing for you is like you're working for so hard for that stage production for however long it runs, and the body's got to
Mm.
be completely perfect. Otherwise, yeah, like you said, like for Kylie, it's the 8% or you're out.
Well, it's
Um,
like contractual half the time as well. So you you have weight warnings, you get called to the office if you don't fit into your costumes. Like this is hundreds of thousands of dollars going into Disney's Aladdin. They can't just be taking out your costumes every 5 minutes because you're putting on weight. Like, it affects
Mike,
everyone else.
eating too many donuts in between the matinee session and the evening session, you've stuffed out or you're out.
Oh, I know. But sorry, mate. Go on.
No, it's good. And that's the thing. I think like we when you're in the like you're providing a service, and I think like when you're providing a service to somebody, you expect a level of professionalism and perfection. So then your product that you're putting out there is well received, and then people keep coming back. So like that's the thing. It's like, but one of the biggest things like I've learned is like not complete. Like I was always trying. I'd always almost bog myself down to a point where I wouldn't be able to do anything because I was always worried about being completely perfect. And I'm like, oh, I can't do it this way, so I'm just going to try and do something different because it's like rather than just allowing it just to be that like having that slight imperfection to then be able
Yeah.
to move forward through it. Um, yeah, I think it's a massive work, especially when you're kind of in that like I said, the service place where your industry where you're that's your product, and
Yeah.
hard, I guess.
And we're sometimes led to believe, or actually it's true as well, but there's always someone waiting in the wings.
Yeah,
So if you don't do a good job, and that's an analogy used in the performing world, but it's for everyone. If you're not at your best, um, someone else would do it
yeah,
better. And
perfectionism.
ah, my hair.
Yes, there is not a hair out of place up there, but yeah, there's some perfectionism on stage and just kind of like learning that little pieces like that you can kind of let go of and like
Yeah, and we were talking the other night about flow state. On Wednesday, I did this gig where I had to do hours of teleprompting for like this corporate company, and it was imperative that I did it all in one take. And so you've just got words strolling, streaming, and you're just reading, and if you get one comma wrong, or even just one word wrong, start again.
wow,
And that anxiety can just be like, you fucked it up, excuse my language. Am I allowed to say that?
you can swear, mate.
Okay, I'll try not to, but that's once again that negative interject that I was talking about is so strong that it does swear at me, and it does call me the worst names known to man. That if you said that to me, like I'd just be like, see you later, mate, and that can come up. But for me at the moment, it's about just letting it wash away and going, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's huge for me actually. And it's got.
Have you ever read the book The Untethered Soul?
I started reading that. I've got it as an audio book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've found it so amazing. But yeah, I didn't complete it, unfortunately. I'm onto this new book at the moment.
What are you reading now?
It's called Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving, and
Right.
it's changing my life. Opening up my mind to real, just
So obviously you've experienced PTSD. You don't have to go into it, but it's like.
Well, that's okay. I've been seeing a psychologist, every week for the last 5 months now, and like
How are you going to see a psychologist, by the way?
Oh, amazing.
I love it. I love going there because it's like you get to have that outside point of view to everything else that you could possibly tell your family, friends, and they're all going to tell you something different. That person just goes, "Oh, that's you unpack it."
Yeah, and I mean it's my favorite hour of the week. Like I'm really self-aware, and usually I can be like, oh damn, I'm doing that because I'm feeling neglected there, or and I can unpack what I'm doing. But in the last couple of years, I've really been doing some negative behavioral patterns that I've not been happy with, and I'm like, oh, I can't figure out why I keep doing that, and then I'm like, oh, maybe a psychologist might help. I hear these guys and girls are really good at what they do. So, and I've been skeptical because I've always, been so independent with my life and with healing. So I'm like, I can just do yoga and lay in shavasana and find peace. I don't need to go and spend $250 on a psychologist. So, I was very resistant because I also found, thought of it as very clinical in my head, where I would go and see an energy healer or talk with my friends or whatever, meditate on it. But just going backwards into my childhood and seeing some of the stuff that, I might feel or think is mediocre actually really has had massive impacts on my adult life, that in my 20s I felt like I could just push aside and I'd be okay, and I'll deal with that, the she'll be right attitude.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I've realized that, having a single mum, she worked her butt off to put food on the table, and is the best mum in the whole entire world. But she wasn't really there, because she was so busy with work. So, being left to your own devices as a teenager, or, there's just been a lot of things that from reading this book, I've realized, oh, wow. And then, knowledge is power. So now I'm working on all of that, and it's just changing my life. It's really making space in my mind for peace. And what is opening up from that is situations like this. I said in one of my, to myself recently in a goal, like I want to do a podcast this year, and bang, the phone rings. I want to be in front of a camera more rather than on stage, because as a dancer, my body's starting to cop it, and I like being in front of the camera. So it's like, bang, like I'm just opening up and putting some of that pain aside, and it's really cool. So I recommend to anyone, and especially men, because we know that suicide rates are higher for us, and just where,
absolutely,
not as great at talking about our emotions and being vulnerable. Like even today, I was like, I need to do Wim Hof breathing before I speak to guys. I need to do a cold bath. I need to journal. I need to do everything, because I was shitting myself about having to just really open up, which, as we know, is great for us.
Yeah, like It is, and it's like you said, like once you start to unpack that early stuff, like I've unpacked the early stuff, still unpacking it, and it's, but yeah, like I spoke to someone else on a podcast the other day. It was like it's kind of like Shrek, and he's an onion, and he's got many layers.
Mm.
And I still use that analogy all the time, and probably people who listen to this podcast probably from the beginning have heard me almost in every episode say talk it. But it's like we, as soon as we allow ourselves to, like you're gonna feel those difficult feels. You're going to feel things that kind of make you a little bit icky, but
Mm.
that ickiness allows you then joy on the other side. Like there's always a shadow side to that feeling that you're feeling, right? Like if you're sitting in your shit, like if you're sitting
Mm.
in your shit, there's also going to be that nice joyful point on the other side. I think like it's like, yeah, like you said, like you through your 20s, there's that time where you just go, oh no, she'll be right. I'll continue to party this out, or I'll continue just like going out and doing all the things. And
Using those coping mechanisms, those self-soothing techniques,
yeah,
avoidance. Yeah.
did you like what if like obviously if you don't mind me asking, did you like have those like did you have specific things that would like you would through that time you were kind of like shutting down, like for someone who might be out there listening to this at the moment, and like those are those things that they're kind of doing as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose I have quite an addictive personality. So when I'm wanting to not feel or not sit in my shit, I have a tendency to funnel an intense amount of energy into anything that makes me feel better, validated in the present moment, whether that be as a teenager, like discovering sex and then just going gun ho, like
Yeah,
that, in itself is a massive dopamine rush that gives you that, elated feeling of escapism. And being a gay guy growing up, there was a lot of sneaking around and risk involved in that, which really tickled my fancy as a teenager.
yeah,
So I became really dependent as a teenager on escaping into that world of validation from other people.
yeah,
Also, we all go on this journey with drugs and alcohol, or maybe not drugs, but definitely alcohol in Australia. And so uh, it's very important to me at the moment that I realize when I'm tired, because a huge thing for me is just not getting enough rest.
yeah,
And, we wake up, gym, yoga, rehearsals, 8 shows a week, got to do this, read that script, catch up with that friend. All of a sudden, you're not aware of how fatigued you are.
yeah,
And then when you're making decisions, or when I'm making decisions from a place of fatigue, they're often really crappy judgments, which, you know,
yeah,
you you're reaching out for connection and human contact, which is what I lack, because I'm single. I don't have a boyfriend to cuddle up to and just, be like, oh, just hold me. I've got my connection with my friends and family, which are so strong,
yeah,
but intimate, connection, I've been lacking. So yeah, those coping mechanisms for me are going about getting connection, but usually in the wrong way through, say, alcohol, drugs, or sex, like a rock star. I'm a rock star.
well, and that's the thing. I think a lot of existence, or especially since rock has existed, and like that side, like that is almost that side of that life has been almost glorified, and
Yeah,
especially like in Australia as well. It's like that
yeah,
you that alcohol kind of fueled um, a society. Like you got to go for a drink with your mate to like do something. Um, I think that's one thing. It's like it's kind of glorified. So yeah, okay, well, like I'm gonna go party tonight and maybe not work on or not sleep. Like
Mm.
when all you really actually do you need is like probably a good 10 hour, 8 or 9 hours sleep to
Big
feel
time.
a lot better and a good meal. Like there's quite
Yeah.
often like if you're not eating properly and you're not sleeping properly, your headspace is pretty much probably going to be dust by the time you
Yeah.
go out and party. So that's where I was like wasn't eating properly, wasn't sleeping properly. I'd be partying like a rock star till 3 or 4 in the morning. Come home, go to the gym, like go to work, do it all over again, and this is just the slippery slope.
Yeah. And it is about listening to your body and yourself in those moments.
Yeah.
I know hydration, I can just be laying in bed some days and I'm like, just go and get a drink. And you're like, oh, I can't be bothered. And you're like, no, get water.
Yeah.
It's important. But yeah, I don't know. Those coping mechanisms and those self-soothing techniques are becoming few and far between, which is a really um, exciting thing for me because, um, well, they're just negative and
Yeah.
they soothe for a moment, but you
And you
know,
can even see, like you said, like the growth that you've seen from identifying that, and then like obviously you wanted to do a podcast, now you're in front of a camera. Like when you step away from that self-soothing stuff, then you can clearly choose the path that you want to go on, rather than just kind of hazily going through.
yeah,
Yeah.
mm,
Um, it's pretty special, and like you've touched on, like for
those
being a gay guy,
gay guy, which is important for me to talk about
yeah.
because it is, yeah, we're all men, but minority, and with that comes some,
Well, yeah, like that's the thing. Like that's what I really want to kind of get into is, especially kind of that journey. You said early on, like around that 14 mark, that you wanted to try the dancing, and you got bullied, and then obviously then you suppressed that, and then you found your circle after that. Like that journey mustn't have been easy. Like once you start to realize that you're not like everybody else, and like especially it's even more prevalent that you're probably going to be.
yeah. But
Well,
I grew up in a suburb, Montmorency, which I feel really blessed to have grown up in. It's so green and gorgeous and just stunning. But uh, it's things, and once again, I find this kind of hard to talk about because it's oh, get over it, stop freaking whinging about your bloody first world problems. There's this constant thing in my head that's like, oh, just man up. And so when I talk about being gay and how hard it was for me, like I feel bad because I've had such a great life, but it's the thing, like by the time I was 14, I'd probably heard close to over 1,000 times a year, fucking faggot, and derogatory terms towards homosexuality.
yeah,
And if you average it, that's kind of 3 times a day. And I actually think it's a lot more than that. So, going back to being a teenager and how just words have so much power. You
yeah,
know, I may not have been bashed to like a bloody pulp at school every day, um, you know, and I feel sorry for anyone who that happens to in life. But um, yeah, I don't know. It's something that I was watching this show called Hollywood. It's on Netflix at the moment.
oh yeah, okay, yeah, I've seen that pop up.
Yeah, and it basically rewrote Hollywood in the 40s, and all the black writers and actresses won, all the gay couples were on the red carpet, like, and it's just like how we're living now, and I think it's just really amazing. And I was crying in bed watching it the other night because I was like feeling a bit. I was feeling so happy for society right now in our culture, but I was also feeling a little sad for the young Mike Snell who kind of didn't see that on television and didn't have that to grow up with.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really know what I'm trying to say because
No, like it
it's all
sounds.
positive, but
Yeah, it sounds like you're really just grateful. Like and you are grateful for your journey to where you are. Like you don't have to have a bad story, and you don't have to be like. And I think like for you, like what I'm hearing is this: it's a guy who's actually really quite happy with where he's come from, and and for me, like knowing you, and then knowing what the society these days is now really quite more open to the fact of like the gay and lesbian community and everybody else. It's just like it's so great because you're
amazing.
accepted, and like back in even growing up back in where I was from, like my country town, like it was yeah I would have heard that the same thing like with people like even my dad who was like quite a country guy just stuck in his ways, and it's just like it it didn't need to be said then, and it definitely doesn't need to be said now, and like um yeah it's just amazing how like things have evolved, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
like you touched on before, like obviously men have got a higher rate of suicide, and then that compounded on men plus being a gay male is just then doesn't need to be having that stigma around anybody, and actually allowing, especially gay males and men, to talk about and have the scope and the place to be able to talk
Yeah,
and
which is
tell people.
which is here right now. Um, and yeah, it's funny just while you're speaking about that, like the arts is such a place for anyone to share those flamboyant, artistic, creative sides of themselves, and it's really scary. And, I encourage anyone to just get up and sing a song
Yeah.
or dance. I'm a yoga teacher, and every time I do a vinyasa, I'm classically trained in hatha. I went to Rishikesh in India and studied my 200-hour yoga teacher training and meditation teacher training, and it was very strict hatha, which I loved because we're in trikonasana and we're like rib placement, hip, do not,
Yeah.
I'm really classical yoga, and I can't handle that, get into a vinyasa class where I can get into Virabhadrasana to flow, open, breathe, move your arms. Oh, yes, it's like a dance, and I just think it's just cool for anyone to like not perform, but be creative and just like feel vulnerable through that, it's very exhilarating, and then it just can flow into your life with relationships, conversations, putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I think like once you've kind of unstuck that the view down below, everything kind of starts to move and it feels like effortless and flow. And
Yeah.
how did your yoga journey start? Like um were you one of the people who were like, I want to be a yoga teacher, I'm going to go do yoga teaching, or you've practiced for an extended amount of time and then you go, okay, cool, like I want to do a deep dive deeper into.
Um, uh, I was always like Bristol's, Nug Champa, hippie pants when I was younger, like when I was 18.
Yeah.
And, I always really thought I was so spiritual, which I am. But back then I was just like, I loved it. And so I went and found yoga to help me with flexibility because started dancing at 17 and I couldn't even bloody touch my toes, let alone, do all the things that you need to do as a dancer.
Yeah.
So I found this class, and my very first teacher, I think I was like 19. I would have been 19, I reckon, was Andrew Monaghy's. And he, oh my God, just changed my life. So I became real, as I said, when I love something, I become fully hooked into it. And, I just have been doing yoga since I was about 19 years old, and I'm 37 now. And at about 32, I broke up with my partner of 4.5 years, about that, 4.5, 4 years, whatever. And it caused me to really have a bit of a mental or whatever, just
breakdown.
break through. I'll say that now, but off I ran to India for my, eat, pray, love.
Yeah.
That was the moment where I was like, I really love this so much. I want to go to the, epicenter of where it came from. And so, yeah, I'd been practicing for a good 15 plus years before I went to India to get my teacher training.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I remember walking across the bridge. For anyone that's been to Rishikesh, there's this orange footbridge. Get across it by motorbike only or walking. And I had my bag, and I just finished playing Tony Manaro in Saturday Night Fever, who's the Volta role, and I was like, I took my bow. I'm like, dun 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 dun, boom, grabbed my suitcase, ran to the airport. 3 hours later, I'm on a plane, and I'm like,
wow.
Because I was 2 days late for my yoga course.
Yeah.
And, they said, just get here by that second day and we'll let you do the course. So I've run from off stage on the plane. I remember I just burst into tears and walked across the bridge. I'm like, I'm here. And then they're like, namaste, and namaste. And everyone just says, namaste. And you're like, namaste. It was the best. I'm talking, it was the best.
And
then
were you staying in a full ashram, living? Yeah. So you had the full experience.
Yeah, it was so amazing. And up at 6 or 5:30 every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 2 hour, practice in the morning, pranayama, neti pot, straight into anatomy, breakfast, physiology, philosophy, and then, an anatomy class or something, and then a 2 hour teacher training class in the afternoon, followed by satsang, where you play, for an hour whilst chanting. And that was 6 days a week. And I remember I just fitted in, got my teacher training, ran straight to the airport, was on a plane to Sydney, and started rehearsals the very next day for We Will Rock You. This is not a word of a lie. It just slotted in. And then all of a sudden I'm, in a room with Ben Elton doing head banging, singing tenor in We Will Rock You the very next day after I'd just been zened AF for the month, So I don't know what the point of the story is. It's just a story, but it was an intense.
It's a pretty crazy schedule. It's so you had We Will Rock You teed up before you went over there. You're like, that's my window. I've got to go there.
Yeah. You always audition for shows, months in advance, and then they lock you in contractually. So if any other work comes up, they've got their cast. And
yeah, right. That's so funny to be up there in the Himalayas and you're just completely just off in another world, and then back and boom. When did you start the actual show?
So we had about, I think it was 4 weeks rehearsal, and then you tech it, previews and open. So, it's usually about the 6-week mark after rehearsals start that you open to the, have your opening night. But then, when I was, say, doing Wicked, it was such a huge new show with so many technical elements, like the witch flew and all the, special effects. The same with Aladdin, with all the magic tricks and the set changes and everything. Like the tech rehearsals now are becoming so huge.
Yeah, right.
That, once you learn the show, you get into the theatre. It's not even about learning the steps or knowing where you are. It's about everything else. And you're just a warm prop on stage, and it's about getting the carpet to fly, getting, all the coin towers to drop down and all the special effects. So it's not about the steps anymore once you get into the theatre.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's really cool.
What show for you that you feel is probably like that stood out for you is probably like your favorite, or like one where it's really like been formative in like who you've become as a stage performer?
Can I say two?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My first was The Boy from Oz, which starred Hugh Jackman, and that was my very first show. So I remember just being like,
shit. Yeah, I would have been the same.
I was like, oh my God, Wolverine.
He's
so for me, and Chrissy Amphlett, she's an Australian icon.
Yeah.
I was just at work every day going, I think this means you've kind of made it.
Yeah, am I in a dream?
Yeah, and I was so young, that I was just like, oh my God. And I met my now mentor, Kelly Abbey. She was choreographer.
It's 3 o'clock.
I went on to work with her.
Thanks, Siri.
We love you, Siri. Take that off. It's really annoying. And so I met my, as a mentor, Kelly Abbey on that, and I worked with her on Strictly Ballroom, Baz Luhrmann, and then a TV show called I Will Survive, Jesus Christ Superstar, heaps. And she's just been this constant in my trajectory and my career. And whenever I get nervous or out of my depth, I call her. I'm writing a keynote speech at the moment, and I messaged her the other day and said, will you help me just maybe watch my first draft or watch my first run of this and give me some pointers? And she's like, oh, you need me to hold your hand through this again? And I'm like, yeah, I do actually. And I think that's really important in life, to be able to ask for help and to hold people's hands through the journey, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Like, I went through so much of my life not asking for help. And it was obviously coming back to that inner child work and working on some stuff there. And when you finally realize, yeah, it's okay to ask people for help. They might say no, you might get knocked back, but at least you've asked for help. And having a mentor is like gold. And,
big time.
And that's one thing that I feel that maybe I've lacked throughout my entire life, is having someone to go back to as a mentor to, and those people like yourself who have had one. It is that kind of little bit of an envious point, because it's like you've had that person who's actually allowed you to kind of keep you on that, like, not straight and narrow, but allow you to work and allow you to learn, but then also give you those pointers. It's really quite cool.
Yeah, and having a mentor, I think they don't have to know that they're your mentor either. You can just like pay attention and follow their vibe. Yeah. And that's the good thing about social media. It doesn't have to be this big negative comparison tool. You can cull all the shit.
Yeah.
And just, vibe and, I'm lucky enough that with Cal, she has been this massive, leader in my career, as, always in a leadership role. So, whether she knows it or not, she's mentored me just through teaching me on so many shows,
Yeah.
But to anyone that's watching who might be a bit younger or what, it's not this like contract, will you be my mentor? Way, it's everywhere. And just like look at those people that, and I'm probably speaking to a younger audience right now, because I teach a lot of dance dancers, young dancers. So to any of them who are watching, just pick your favorite performer. And that brings me back to Hugh Jackman. He was a massive mentor of mine. I did my first show with him. I idolized him and how he worked. And that's, what I always based my product and myself off, So
Yeah.
I digressed. That was a definite standout show to me.
Yeah.
And the next one was Legally Blonde. I played Kyle, the UPS delivery guy. And this was another moment of absolutely shitting my pants because it was a very comedic role. And, in rehearsals, no one was laughing in the room. Like, you can't fake, laughter.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to walk out and just deliver my line. It was just this, I had to walk out on stage with this box, and then turn to the front and be like, I've got a package, and I'm holding this massive box in front of my crutch. And I'm thinking, oh my God, please laugh, please laugh. And my director's going, now look, if they don't laugh, it's okay. And I'm thinking, they're not going to, like this is, and then they laughed. And, it was great because I don't think of myself as a comedian at all. And so to have an audience, and then I ended up earning a Helpmann Award Nomination for Best Supporting Actor, which is really kind of one of those moments for me where I just thought, oh, cool,
That's amazing.
It was really lovely. And so it was an iconic moment for myself just to be like, great, it's lovely.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's kind of like that, almost a self-realization is like, yeah, the hard work has actually been done and recognized now.
Yeah.
How long was like Legally Blonde into like your career? Is that like recent?
So I it's probably that I was 29 or something. So I've probably done about 5 shows. I remember thinking,
that's good. Like
working my way up a bit here. So yeah, it was time.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Where like I want to try and see like whether you've taught how that the yoga and like that your yoga off the mat. How do you find yoga and meditation in your everyday life? Like especially obviously running to and from rehearsals and stuff like that. There's the asana, but then that taking the practice off the mat to obviously, yeah. How do you integrate that into your life?
I was thinking about this before because, as I said, I was like, I know that you talk about the 4 M's, mates, muscle, mindfulness,
Mastery.
So I tried to incorporate them into my morning this morning before I spoke to you, and I did one of Patrick Beach's vinyasa flows out on my balcony, and I love opening my front body. I do a lot in my life that crunches me forward, or I just have naturally short hip flexors. And so I'll just relate this to my own job, being a dancer. I just love an up dog. I love that.
Yeah.
That front body stretch and, anything back bendy. I just love it. So I'm one of those weirdos that could just be like standing in line at the bank and then I'll just accidentally drop into high crescent lunge, or not really, but I just love to just, I don't know. I just feel like, why can't we just stretch wherever and whenever we want?
Yeah.
Cats and dogs and everything else, they can, but we're out in public, so we must stand and just be normal. It's like, my hip's hurting. I want to stretch it, and I want to stretch it now.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. So I do it. And it's like, I can either care about what people think or, as Nelson Mandela says, shine your light. It gives people the ability to do the same. That's not verbatim, but so I do and I know yoga's not just all about stretching,
Yeah.
I do relate a lot of it to the asana because, you know, I'm a physical mover and I love that.
Yeah.
Obviously, just in warm ups, you know, my dance warm ups when I teach are very yoga based. But for me, it is all about pranayama. And I've been studying the Wim Hof technique a lot lately. Like, it just blows my mind. But I'm
Have you
in.
done a dip yet? Like the cold dip?
Well, I do that just I run from the sea baths in St Kilda, and I do like 7 rounds of, you know,
Yep.
jumping into the ocean back into the sea baths, and or I just have, you know, cold showers, and, you know, do that. Try and do it a lot, but I started the 20-day challenge on the Wim Hof app, and I failed abysmally because I'm like, not this morning, you know.
It's tough. I've done that. I've done that before. The 20-day challenge, and day one is brutal, and then
I love it.
by the time you finish day 20, it's just you're like, holy
Yeah,
fuck.
I need to get on it. I need to start it again, Ty. So can you like text me at 6 a.m. every morning?
I'll do it. I'll do it with you as well. We'll be Wim Hof accountability buddies.
Yes, yes. But I talking about pranayama again. I just Nadi Shodan, you know, that
Yeah.
nostril breathing. It's the thing that saves me.
It's an amazing technique.
Yeah,
I love that one, especially for just being like it's simply it's the most I find it's the most simple way of just dropping into even just like like a meditative state, because you've just literally got to focus on your breath and what you're doing.
yeah. And I always love to have my third eye, you know, just bang, yeah, just come bang out of. Oh, is it out of your parasympathetic nervous system or into? Out of.
Are you going into parasympathetic?
Into parasympathetic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to always get. I'm like, even like when I began PT, I'm like parasympathetic and sympathetic, and it's just like, yeah, now it's just.
Yeah, and that's all right. I'm not a, you know, but
So yeah,
um,
those people at home just wondering what we're talking about. Sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight mode. So like a lot of our stress hormones are produced in our sympathetic, and then parasympathetic is when we come into our rest and digest. So your recovery. So if you're someone who is quite um, anxious and on the go and all the time, being able to find something that allows you to find that sympathetic nervous system or parasympathetic nervous um, response will generally allow you to start to calm down.
yeah, that's a massive thing for me. You know, I did it the other day in front of the camera. I was about to shoot, and there was a, you know, director, co-actor, you know, and I thought, I don't care if 1 second. I just took my moment to just.
Yeah. So for those at home, if you can't, because if you are listening to the podcast, Michael was just doing a couple of rounds of his Nadi Shodhana, his alternate nostril breathing. Well, if you look it up online, there's a multitude of different ways of different videos to watch to do it. Essentially, it's just blocking one nostril with one finger and then allowing the inhale to come through one nostril, and then you remove that finger and then exhale through the opposite nostril, and just completing that, it just starts to slow that nervous system down.
Yeah, and I find, you know, lengthening the exhale and trying to do a good double. So if I'm, you know, breathing in for 4 counts, I'm really trying to, you know, exhale for 8 counts, but without getting lost in the numbers. So it becomes this math thing. It's more about the feeling.
Yeah.
But it really does. If I, you know, do over 7 rounds, I'm usually softened and just completely different person.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, I can now step into what I need to do without anxiety or worry or stress. You know.
No, it's such a powerful, and that's like you're saying with the extending the breath. It's also like the 4 in 6 out pranayama is also a great way of um, decrease. So obviously, extending the exhale is allowing that body just to completely soften down and take it out, take the stress out. It's essentially like you're increasing the energy as you bring it in, and then the exhale is softening and taking it out. That's more feminine energy. So, um, as a lot of guys, we sometimes struggle to find our feminine energy, and that doesn't mean having to be someone who paints their nails and wearing dresses and blah blah blah. Like you don't have to be that. Like simply finding a softer breath is one way of stepping more into the feminine, especially. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting, the balance of those two, solar and lunar, if you look at it that way, or masculine and feminine. I, I like recently had a massive blow up with my sister because we just do that sometimes. And at 30 freaking 7, I'm just thinking, breathe, Michael, and I'm like, I'm right. And it's just like, oh, don't do that, but I suppose it's family sometimes, and they're the ones we love, but for me, I'm like, breathe.
Yeah, and it's that being that self-aware of the reaction versus response as well. It's like
Yeah.
if you're about to shoot off, you go, how am I reacting to this situation, or am I about to respond to it? And it's just like as you start to become more self-aware of the thoughts and where it's bubbling up, it's a little easier to start to kind of go, no, I'm not going to react to that. I'll respond with going, okay, cool. Thank you very much for your point of view.
Yeah, and then but not passive aggressively. But then like checking, am I rested? Am I hydrated?
Yeah.
And as I said earlier on, these are the things for me personally that I tend to not pay attention to, because it's like, keep working, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And it just doesn't get me anywhere at this age to like that. So, my main thing that I'm working on at the moment, and this is what Jeremy, my psychologist, has been helping me with, is becoming a master of rest.
Yeah, it's good.
There's the mastery, component to the 4 M's.
You've nailed them, mate. You've nailed the brief.
Well, exciting to be here with you.
It's been great. No, it's good. And that's what the rest, the breath work, and it's some really good tips that anybody could take away, and especially like in this time that we're sitting in at the moment, where there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of kind of little bits and pieces that could be adding on to that stress, and there is a great time right now. Like obviously, the world is beginning to open back up, but as the world starts to open back up, not going 100 million miles an hour back into it, and then you've just had all this kind of like, are we getting this? Are we getting that? Are we going to lock down? As all this stress is still there and it hasn't been dealt with, and then we're going to go out into the world and then run our normal lives. It's actually being in a little bit more of a realization with yourself that we still need to do those techniques and stuff that you've said, because then that way then it allows the body to gradually come back online, rather than just being compounded with all of the stress that we've been dealing with, and then some more in the back end. So I really like those tips. Is like obviously your breath work, your sleep, rest, and it doesn't mean you have to sleep. It's literally just maybe just sitting on the bed reading a book or something like that.
Yeah, or like Blanky and Harry Potter with ice cream.
There you go. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Anything peanut butter.
Yeah, peanut butter is pretty good.
It's great.
Peanut butter cookie dough is probably mine.
Yeah, I just love anything, but obviously at the moment, because I I don't want that massive sugar hit, so I'd go for the vegan options. You know, I'm not vegan, but you know, I just don't want to sit there. Usually at night is the only time you really eat ice cream unless you're like a full, you know, have ice cream for breakfast. No offense, but you know, I don't really want a tub of sugar before I go to bed. But I suppose the vegan ones just have as much sugar. It's more dairy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh well, I still feel better having it. So
anyway.
I'll keep lying to myself about the vegan ice.
Might wrap it there, mate. Where can everybody meet you, catch up with you, see you perform? Have you got any upcoming shows on the horizon if it happens?
I'll do my Instagram's at mikesnell.me.
Yeah.
I've got my yoga page, which is at mikesnell.yoga. My website, which is mikesnell.com.au, which has all my upcoming shows. I've got a Freddie Mercury tribute show that I know you know, because I premiered it at the Prince of Wales for a fundraiser that Nikki Hanley through Disco Yoga put together.
It's an amazing show, by the way.
Oh, thanks. And Tyson, you were my DJ, and I'd never done your yoga class. I didn't know you at all, and I'd come on stage and I'm going, you know, I'm belting Freddie Mercury, you know, and I'm about to dance, yeah, I know what's going, and I'm going off, and I turn around and go, pump up the music, man, come on! Like basically just yelled at you.
He's got strips off me.
Mercury, thinking, God, pump it up, dude. And then I just remember you being like, yep, sure. Oh, well, you know, this DJ console. And turns out you're like one of my new fave yoga teachers, and you were just there helping out.
Yeah, donating my time. I've got strips torn off me by Freddie Mercury.
Exactly. So that's how we met, by me just yelling at you on stage while I was in the middle of a tech rehearsal.
Yeah, it was a rehearsal. I'm like, shit, the real life, I've got to really bring my A game for the live performance.
Yeah, no, it was really fun. But you know, I had some shows booked at the Palms. I had like a nice 45-minute set with a 5-piece band and my 2 backup singers, Romy and Andrea, and we had heaps of parties booked, and you know, had a residency at Crown every Friday, Saturday night. So look, there's no shows yet, but I do live stream a show called Live at the S Lounge every Saturday night. From my Facebook page or the S Lounge Facebook page. So we do like a themed comedy varieties show every week where we sing lots of songs and we inspire everyone to sing along at home in isolation. And we basically, my mate Nick and I just have a really fun time. We hashtag Sip, Sing and Smile, and we just want to, you know, bring a Saturday night aspect into people's lounge rooms where they can have a wine, have a sing, have a water, and be with their family. And
that's cool.
Yeah, so tune in on Saturday nights if you got some time at 8 p.m.
Awesome. All right. Well,
cool, dude.
Hey,
can I just say, you're a legend. You have so much cool energy just beaming out of your beautiful blue eyes, and you know, I'm just complimenting you from one man to another. Yeah. Thanks for making a change, and I'm sure everyone appreciates it. You're a legend.
Thanks, bud. Thank you so much for your time, and the bro love reciprocated.
Namaste, brother. Look up.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. If you like what you heard and want to get all the info, check out the show notes. While you're there, rate and review the show. And one last thing, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming episodes. Until next time, my friends, continue to look out for each other and continue to lift each other up.